Robbie Moffat, who's going to talk to us for a little bit.
First of all, I wanted to thank you for being the sponsor of this year's London Rolling Film Festival. So yes, big round of applause because if you're here, it's also thanks to our sponsors and to you especially. You are an author, you're a screenwriter, you are a poet, so many things, but tonight, especially, you're here as an executive producer and the founder of Palm Tree International, which is a very well-rounded company. Would you want to introduce it?
I started Palm Tree in 1980 in Newcastle and ended up establishing Newcastle Festival Fringe. And then that ran for quite a few years. Then I left Newcastle and moved down to Somerset. But we're mainly doing publishing, but I always tried to get into film. Poetry, no money in poetry. Well, you get that pretty quickly, right? Novels. No money in novels. I remember in the 80s, write a novel. Oh, you can write a novel for, we'll give you £3,000. I said, it's going to take a year, you know, and they go, oh, well, that's the going rate. No money in novels. Then I got into plays, started writing plays and went back to university and everything else because I had failed the first time. Started writing plays, and then by 1991 I go, I'm not doing this anymore, all I do is lose money. Right? But what you get from that experience is working through the storylines, working with actors, and then you get to the realization, where's the money? Well, the money's always been in film because it's the most popular art. It's the seventh art, as they call it, because you need to know a lot about the other six arts in order to make the seventh art. You have to have music, you have to have actors, you have to have choreographers, you know, you have to have the poetry is considered one of the seven arts. So you have to, even in the dialogue, you have to have something which reflects poetry. So what do you do if you're left out? So short filmmakers, how do you progress into features? Feature filmmaker, how do you make your second one? All right? You have to do it yourself, because if you're not got a foot in that door is never going to open for you. I'm only being realistic, so that's in our case. So unfortunately, we took up with a journalist in 1997 who said that all the film money in Scotland is going to the same six people. And all six people were on the committee of the Scottish Film, what we called it the Scottish Film Prevention Fund. Not the, so the Scottish Film Prevention Fund. So we worked with this journalist for Scotland on Sunday to find out where the money was going. You know, I ended up with six enemies who were determined that no matter what I did in my career, they would make sure that I never succeeded. Three of them over the years have come up and apologised. Two of them have died, which is good. All right.
Any connection?
Yeah, but I mean, there's some famous names there like David Putnam, you know, Linda Miles, you know, I'll name a few. John McGrath was the only one that ever came up to me and said, we did wrong with you. And so we were taking the money. So out of the $5.5 million that were given out that year, they gave it all to the committee members for their films. So that is quite often the way it's stacked against you as a filmmaker. Okay, some of you may be successful in getting BFI money and going through that whole route. So I hope some of you are successful, but the majority of us, we are not there. And we will never be there because our face does not fit, okay?
Then follow-up question on what you've explained, which is quite eye-opening. When you decided that, okay, that door is not opening, so I need to go on to a different route, I'm wondering if there was any moment in which you felt scared or maybe not quite confident enough that it would turn out the way it actually turned out, and if you have any advice on someone who's starting on that journey on how to just power through those moments of insecurities.
All right, so not everybody is institutionalized. So back when we were doing it, we had the labs and the guys supplying film stock. So we had Deluxe, Technicolor, Fuji, and Kodak. That was your choice, okay? So you had to decide whether you were going with Fuji or Kodak, you had to decide whether you go with deluxe and Technicolor. And they were outside of that whole, as we used to call the BFI, bloody fucking idiots, right? Okay, that's what they used to call them at the lab, bloody fucking idiots. Okay, so they were in the commercial world, and they were doing Hollywood movies, which was outside of this British system. So you realise, where is the money coming from when you make something? It comes from overseas. We're an export business. Our main thing is English language. So we're an export country when it comes to media, okay? So the statistic years ago was the Americans had 85% of world distribution. The Brits had 6% of that, which included the Bond movies, okay? And the rest of the world was 9% of world distribution of films. I think the rest of the world was cut up a little bit, but even now, if you go on to Amazon, Google, Netflix, what are we doing? English language. And then in America, they set many years ago, in the 50s, that no film could be distributed in America unless it was dubbed into English. And the French did the same thing. They protected their industry by making French. But we don't have that protection because under the 1803 US-UK treaty, we cannot put barriers to this kind of trade, and the trade is the audiovisual business. So there are no barriers to Americans. That's why Pinewood is Disney, Leavesden is Warner's, Netflix is Shepperton, Bray is Amazon, and then there's a whole plethora of news studios where they expand the news out of that system. So you have to accept, okay, it's the American system, but how can we use that because we speak English? Okay, we've got some of the best technical people in the world, but they are the modern day slaves of the American masters. That's how I see it, okay? So do you want to work for them? Yes, good. You know, you make a living, you make a good living, you'll get to make your films, you'll get to make American subject matter films, but we're British, okay? I've always taken the point of view that I'm British. I want to tell British stories. And theoretically, that's what we've done over, what we've done, 38 feature films now, okay? So nearly all of them are British stories, without exception. So who is making British cinema? So we have to look at the people that are making it and the ones that are lauded. I'll give an example. So BAFTA. I've been a member of BAFTA since 1992. So BAFTA, a month ago, said the new criteria for your film to be eligible for a BAFTA award. So last year it was you could put your film in 10 cinemas for 7 days, right? So now it is you have to have 350 screenings during that period. So you now have to have your film in 50 cinemas for 7 days, right? You're an independent filmmaker. How are you going to do that?
Unless there's a bank I can rob, probably never.
Exactly. Okay. So I'm just saying is that they put barriers in place for us as independents. But you know what the secret we've got that they don't have? We've got talent, right? They want our talent, okay? They ultimately, the people in this room are the talent of tomorrow, right? I'm getting old now, I'm 70, right? But the whole point is that if you do it with your own point of view and make your story, because the film is the story that is inside you. You ever wonder why people make horror films? Something tragic happened to them as a kid, all right? And they're trying to work it through. I sometimes feel that maybe that's not true, but I think you need to look deep down at why certain filmmakers are stuck on horror. I don't know why. Okay, we've never really made a horror film. I mean, maybe that's a flaw in me, you know. But and then there's other kind of stories. So the stories you're telling are the person you are, right? And you all want to express yourself. So let's have an example of more recent British film. This is not a criticism, okay? This is, so if Guy Ritchie goes and makes a Batman film, what does that do for British culture? Does Christopher Nolan go and make Oppenheimer? What does that do for British culture? Great for British cinema and all the people employed at Pinewood and Leavesden, right? And if you think of it in those terms, is maybe Pirates of the Caribbean and Harry Potter are exceptions, but generally speaking, those kind of films that the Brits are making to an American agenda. So how do you make your own individual story? You do it by, one, putting your own skin in the game. Put your own money up, right? If you put your own money up, however little it is, everybody around you will go, it has to be a good story though, okay? Everyone around you go, he's putting or she's putting their own money up, I'm going to get behind it because, you know, this isn't about money, this is about telling the story of the person who wants to make the film.
And what is it for you a great story? What is it that would make you go, okay, this movie needs to be made?
Just something that is, you can do it very quickly actually. If you sum up, most people I don't think can sum up what the film that they made. I watched a little video by Almovar, was it yesterday or the day before, and he's going, I make these films, every single scene is blah, blah, blah. No detail, absolutely no detail about, okay, what, do you ever watch an Almovar film? What the fuck is it about, right? It's a bunch of different scenes and, you know, it's an obsession with them. I mean, this is on my opinion, okay? He's a great filmmaker, but I don't think I would make those kind of films. Well, I don't make those kind of films. So everybody has their own way of doing it. And so as British filmmakers, some of you are perhaps European or American, right? You're still here today in the United Kingdom, and what are the stories that we need to tell? And it's constantly, we just made a film, we're going to show a clip of it, a little trailer, Jury of 12, which is really a kind of British version of 12 Angry Men. Okay, but it brings up a lot of subject matters that are current today. All right, some of the other films were made like Dracula and Holiday, or, you know, I mean, they're frivolous in that sense, but we sometimes have to get, or even Helen Razor, the lesbian serial killer. Sometimes you just have to get these things out of you, right? Yeah. So that you can clear. So you do an adult film. I do an adult film about every 5 years, just so I could go back to doing stuff that is normal. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, and I'd like to open it up to the audience in case they have any question.
I was thinking about you talking about British stories that have been out there, and thank you for this, that are out there. And I was thinking about the last thing that was critically acclaimed, and I think that for me that was How to Have Sex. I thought that was a very British story, but for me, I don't think it really hit the mass that it should have. I feel like it was a story that went to a lot of people that I know knew about the consequences and knew about what the film was trying to say. So I guess my real question is, how do you think the British film, even when critics love it, gets out to the masses? Because it seems to be like we can make these amazing films, but it's not getting out there the same way that American films could.
You're making art for all time. You're not making art for a 2-year window that everybody is going to enjoy. If you get behind what you're doing, you're very young, okay? As far as I'm concerned, you're young. If you were to make a film, right, and nobody likes it at this point, if you just keep that, have you ever thought about, that book's out of print? Same with films. Films go out of print. Who's promoting it? Who's sticking it out? Who's putting it out there? But the whole thing is keep your films in print. And in the end, if it's a good film, you will generate an audience, right? And so that film that you mentioned is over the years, and what happens is the next generation comes along, or even my generation go, that film came out in 2002. I don't remember that film. What the hell did I miss? I need to watch it because I need to catch up. And people are constantly trying to catch up on what is ahead of them. And if you're making films that are ahead of the audience, I think that's a good thing, personally, because that means your film's going to have a longer life. Whereas if it's something to be consumed today, I can name a few like that, right? Are you going to watch it a second time? Our audience is going to. Another thing is, if you use a lot of special effects in films, they're so dated, you start. I remember as a kid, used to watch Hammer horror films. I used to laugh at them. So, 17-year-old, we were friends and we'd be watching a Hammer horror film, we'd be laughing at them because of the effects and everything else. So, I think if you make a film that is a good story with as few effects as possible, it doesn't date as much.
So what do you recommend how to approach? So, because I think in my own experience, it feels kind of difficult going around those organizations. You know, you have to go with them to play with them to learn, anything that is needed.
Make it and then get the money out of them. So the way you do that is you go, okay, I'm making this film. So I'm going to give a little secret here. So to put a film in the can, how much does it cost? It's the equipment. If you're the storyteller, the writer, or the director, your business partner is the producer, or you're the producer yourself. What cost is there? It's 22% of the budget. 22%. You, if you're the writer, director, producer. Okay. So then we have the film tax credit. Okay. So you make up your budget. Okay. You're now 22% of that budget. So all you need now is, okay, we've got the script, we need the equipment. How much is the equipment going to cost? You know, is it 3-week shoot, 4-week shoot? Keep it as short as possible. But just work Saturdays if you have to when you're setting out. So you go, how much is that equipment going to cost for that period? And then how much are the actors going to cost to be in front of the camera? It's all costed, right? So if you work with people that want to make it in the business and haven't had a chance, your actor cost is going to be very, very low. So you quantify how much this film is going to cost you to make. So then you have to give them lunch. Don't give them breakfast. Tell them to eat before they come, okay? And don't give them dinner. In other words, don't shoot into the night, okay? So you only have to supply them a lunch, and then you have some crew members. So everybody goes on about the camera person. Fuck the camera person. There's hundreds and hundreds of camera people out there. How many good sound recorders are there? How many good sound recorders?
Thank you.
5, 10. So that's the guy you pay. The camera guy will come and do it because he needs the credit and everything else. So once you've quantified that cost, where are you going to shoot it? How much is it going to cost, the locations? You know the number of films I've made where the locations have cost nothing because you turn up and they're so happy that you're filming there. It's unbelievable. Location, except in London.
Mm-hmm.
Do not shoot in London. All right, that is so prohibitive. Just moving around, you go, okay, I've got to go around the M25 and be there at 8 o'clock. Good luck if you get there for 10. So just logistics like that. So if you're going to shoot a film, do not shoot it in London. Your film was shot in Cornwall, right?
Correct.
Easy to move around,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So accommodation. The other thing is, if you have to accommodate everyone, it is much cheaper to go and get some accommodation off-season. Do not do it July or August or early September. They will just kill you, all right? So go to places off-season. Accommodation is really cheap. So now you've got a cost of your film. So how do you get the money back? All right, so your budget is, because you are making the film a certain amount of thing. It's not the real cost. I remember HMRC 15 years ago, Robbie, what's your markup? I said, well, what do you think the markup should be? They go, 20%. I go, no, our markup's not 20%. Our markup's 500%. So, because you're not costed properly. What would it cost Hollywood or some other BFI funded company to pay for you? That is the truer cost. So you make the budget, you put it in the BFI, and get the film tax credit. You're right before you're in. You work out what your budget is going to be and how much you're going to get in film tax credit before you even start shooting. Okay? And then you know how much you can spend because you're going to get it back. So you can go to people, can you let me have 20,000, 30,000, or you break it up amongst people that you know. Okay.
So, Cast, I'm lucky that I'm friends with, and I've been very blessed by a lot of very talented actors. But when I'm trying to sort of escalate my budgets or, do something bigger, I'm often faced with the sales agents who are saying, you need a name, you need bigger talent, because that's what will sell your film.
Yeah.
What's your advice about trying to attract those names?
It's a completely different ballgame. If that's the road you want to go down, you're just for hire. You're working for the actors. You want to work for the actors? No. Actors should never be paid more than the producer. Now, Howard's in here. He will disagree with that, right? Some actors in the room will go, no. We want to make those millions, right? But it's gone topsy-turvy. Why? What was it? Was it James McAvoy film? He's a great actor, by the way. I have a lot of respect for him, and he's got intelligence and things. But there was some budget recently got it's 12 million, and James McAvoy got 6. And I'm going, there's something wrong there, right? Okay. And I remember a producer told me she met with Al Pacino, and the first thing they were having lunch, and they sat down, and he starts banging the table. This is before they've even ordered. Starts banging before they've even ordered the water. He's in LA. Banging the table, 6 million. And she goes, what do you mean? 6 million, 6 million, 6 million. So I said to her, what did you do? He goes, we made the movie with him. I said, what did you pay him? I paid him 6 million. I said, did you get your money back? No. Right? So, work with actors who want to act and not doing it for the money. Okay? So, if you think, make the actors of tomorrow. I mean, if you think about it, let's say a great example is Scorsese. Did anybody know who De Niro was before he started working with Scorsese? No, right? Make the actors. Think about Trainspotting. Did anyone know who Ewan McGregor was before he worked with Danny Boyle? No, right? Make your own stars. So I've been working with a lot of the same actors for many, many years. They come, they go. Sometimes you don't see any of them again. But a lot of them come back. You make your own body. It takes time. It does take time, okay? Because you have to convince them, and after a while you have to start paying them, okay? But the whole thing is make them your friends. I mean, actors to me are friends. They're not people I work with. They're people I want to have around when I make a film.
Thank you.
Why do you think the British films don't make enough space to certain of the categories?
That's very simple. You need to make it.
Yeah, but to make it, you need the money.
No. You need to have the idea of what the story is that you want to
because you
tell.
have the ideas.
It's not about the money. It's never about the money. If you have a story, there's so many talents in the UK. I grew up, I went to school with Jeff Tonieri, right? And a whole bunch of people with Italian names because they'd assimilated into Glasgow. And I mean, if you think of Charlene Spiteri, Iannucci, the guy that did The Thick of It, they're all from Glasgow. So there's loads of Italians in this country who would welcome a story like that. You just have to write it in a way or present it in a way that everybody wants to get behind. You've got loads of Italians in this room, right?
Yeah.
What's your idea? Right?
Ideas which you want to make into place sometimes can be stolen, and sometimes you are afraid to say your
Worry about
idea.
stolen. No one will steal your idea because they haven't got the time. They've got their own stupid ideas that they want to make.
Totally agree with that.
You know, like Marvel films, right?
Thank you so much.
The films I kind of like to do is one that's hopeful. What inspires you in your process? What films inspired you to make the films that you've made since?
It goes back to what you watch as a child in the cinema, in my case, television. From 1963 to 1965, I kept a book and wrote down all the films I'd seen in that period, including cinema and television. It was about 1,000. So we've all been through that. We do not realise how many feature films we have watched. So we are an accumulation of all of that we have seen with our eyes.
Hi. From the perspective of the film industry in Britain, do you think the disruptive effects of artificial intelligence that could reduce costs considerably, do you think the film industry in Britain is in a position to take significant advantage of that yet?
How's it going to reduce costs? I mean, it's special effects at the end of the day. AI is just special effects. And if you go back to even watching the Hitchcock films, I've got a classic thing where Hitchcock, he went into the British Museum and said, can we use the British Museum to shoot this part in the film? They go, no. So he went away and so he got his art department to get in touch and go, can we come into the British Museum because we want to recreate in the studio the British Museum. So the British Museum allowed them in to film it. That was the backdrop they used in the film, right? They didn't bother building the set. So is AI any different? AI is actors. Recently, we've had to put in our contracts, the actor with the AI and everything. But every couple of years, there's a new thing added to these contracts. Anyway, AI is just another special effect, as far as I'm concerned.
So I know that there are a lot of more questions that you'd like to ask, but unfortunately we are out of time.
Can I say something, Raquel? I'm sorry we didn't follow your questions.
That's fine. I'm happy. It was very interesting. So.
Oh yeah.
Very
Okay.
good.
But I'll be out in the bar and I'll be here over the weekend, all weekend.
Yeah. See, he's always a step forward because that was exactly what I was about to say. So that's also one of the things we can all learn and admire is being always one step ahead. So yes, that's what he's going to be around, so you can ask him all of the questions. We'll see a trailer of one of the movies that is coming out soon. But before we do that, and we see our feature film, which is The Chocolate Club by Deborah Hatfield, which is here. We'll take a quick break so that you can refill your drinks, toilets if you need, popcorns, whatnot. 10 minutes, and then back here for the screening. Thank you very much for Robbie Moffat, and see you weekly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a very intelligent audience.